The dead planet hung in space like a gray marble against the black void. Kepler 442b had been lifeless for millions of years, but something about the strange geometric patterns on its surface had caught the attention of deep space scanners. Now, 3 months later, Dr. Hyun-woo Park stood on that barren surface, staring at structures that should not exist. "The readings are off the charts," called Yoonji Kim from behind her portable analysis station. The young linguist brushed dust from her scanner display, her breath forming small clouds in the thin atmosphere of her environmental suit. "These symbols, they're not like anything in our databases." Hyun-woo nodded, his eyes fixed on the massive stone archway that towered above them. The archaeological team had been working on this site for 2 weeks, but every day brought new mysteries instead of answers. The structures were clearly artificial, yet they predated any known civilization by millions of years. "Taemin, what do your instruments say about the age of these materials?" Hyun-woo asked into his unit. The quantum physicist's voice crackled back through the radio. "That's just it, Dr. Park. The quantum signatures don't match anything we know. It's like these stones exist partially outside normal spacetime. I've never seen readings like this." So Young Lee emerged from the entrance to what they had dubbed the library complex. The bioanalyst carried a sealed container in her gloved hands, and even through her helmet's faceplate, Hyung-woo could see her excitement. "You need to see what we found inside," So Young said, her voice tight with barely controlled enthusiasm. "There's a chamber deep underground. The preservation is perfect. And there are these crystals." Hyun-woo followed So Young into the structure. The walls were covered in the same strange symbols that Yoonji had been trying to decode. They seemed to shift and change when he wasn't looking directly at them, creating an unsettling optical illusion. The team descended through corridors that had been carved with impossible precision. No tool marks were visible anywhere. The stone surfaces were smooth as glass but felt warm to the touch, even through their gloves. "Here," So Young said, stopping at an archway that opened into a vast underground chamber. Hyun-woo stepped through and gasped. The room stretched out before them like a cathedral, its ceiling lost in darkness above. But what took his breath away were the thousands of crystalline structures that lined the walls. Each crystal was about the size of a human head, and they all glowed with a soft blue light that pulsed like a heartbeat. "There's some kind of data storage," Taemin explained, appearing beside them with his scanner in hand. "But the technology is beyond anything we've developed. The information density is incredible. Each crystal could hold the entire database of the Galactic Council." Eunji was already working at one of the crystal formations, her translation software running continuous scans. "The symbols here are different from the ones outside, more complex. It's like they're trying to tell a story." Hyun-woo approached one of the larger crystals. As he got closer, the blue glow intensified, and suddenly images began to appear in the crystal's surface. Star maps, technological blueprints, and then something that made his blood freeze. "So Young," he called urgently. "Run a bioscan on this crystal, now." The bioanalyst hurried over with her equipment. As she worked, her expression grew more and more confused. "This can't be right," she muttered. "What is it?" Hyun-woo demanded. "It's genetic data, DNA sequences, but they're human, exactly human, down to the last chromosome." The team gathered around So Young's scanner display. The genetic template floating in the hologram was unmistakably human, but there were additions. Sequences that didn't exist in modern human DNA, complex genetic structures that seemed to serve no purpose in current human biology. "How is this possible?" Eunji whispered. "These crystals are millions of years old. Humans only achieved space flight 300 years ago." Taemin was scanning other crystals now, his face pale behind his helmet. "It's not just one template, there are thousands of them, all human, all showing these extra genetic sequences." Hyun-woo felt a chill that had nothing to do with the planet's cold atmosphere. He activated his unit and contacted their ship in orbit. "Captain Wan, we need immediate extraction. We found something that changes everything." The captain's voice came back strained. "Dr. Park, we have a problem. Long-range sensors are picking up ships approaching the system. Council markings, military configuration." "How long until they arrive?" Hyun-woo asked, already moving toward the chamber. "Exit, 4 hours, maybe less. And doctor, they're not responding to our identification signals. Something's wrong." The team worked frantically to copy as much data as possible from the crystals. Each new file they downloaded made the mystery deeper. Star charts showing human settlements that shouldn't exist. Technology blueprints for devices that were far beyond current human capabilities. And everywhere, genetic templates showing what humans could be if those missing sequences were restored. "I've found something," Yoonji called out. She had managed to translate a section of text that appeared on multiple crystals. It keeps mentioning the makers and the sleepers, and there's a warning repeated over and over. What kind of warning? Hyunwoo asked as he supervised the data transfer. Let the sleepers lie. Let the children forget. The galaxy is not ready for their return. A new voice crackled through their comm system. It was Captain Wan, and he sounded terrified. All teams, return to the ship immediately. The approaching vessels, they're not just council ships. They're enforcement class, and they're powered up for combat. Hyunwoo looked around the chamber one last time. They had barely scratched the surface of what was stored here, but they were out of time. Pack everything we can carry. We're leaving now. As they climbed back through the corridors, So Young grabbed Hyunwoo's arm. Doctor, I ran a comparison. Scan on my own DNA while we were down there. Those missing sequences, I have traces of them. Dormant, but they're there. We all do, Taemin added grimly. I checked the whole team. Every human carries fragments of whatever was taken out of our genetic code. They reached the surface just as their shuttle landed nearby. In the distance, Hyunwoo could see bright lights in the sky growing larger. The council ships were coming fast. As they loaded their equipment, Eunji made one final discovery. A small crystal had activated when she touched it, projecting a message in perfect ancient Korean. The children of the architects will one day remember who they truly are. When that day comes, the galaxy will tremble. The shuttle lifted off just as the first council ships entered the planet's atmosphere. As they fled toward their waiting vessel, Hyunwoo stared down at the ancient ruins below. Whatever humanity really was, someone had gone to great lengths to make sure it stayed buried. But now the secret was out. And something told him that their troubles were just beginning. The jump to hyperspace saved their lives, but Hyunwoo knew it was only temporary. Their ship, the Horizon's Edge, was fast but not built for running from military vessels. Captain Wan had pushed the engines beyond safe limits, and now they drifted in empty space between star systems, trying to decide their next move. We can't go back to any council station, Wan said during the emergency meeting in the ship's small conference room. Those weren't regular patrol ships. They were hunting us specifically. Eunji looked up from her portable translator where she had been working non-stop for the past 6 hours. Her eyes were red from exhaustion, but her voice was steady. I've decoded more of the crystal data. It's worse than we thought. She activated the holographic display, showing symbols that seemed to move and shift like living things. These texts describe an ancient war. The makers fought something called the Council of Watchers. But here's the strange part. The Watchers won by making the makers forget who they were. That doesn't make sense, Taemin said, looking up from his quantum analysis equipment. How do you make someone forget their own identity? Genetic modification, So Young answered quietly. She had been running tests on the DNA samples they had collected. You change their biology so they can't access certain abilities anymore. You remove the parts of their genetic code that made them special. Hyunwoo felt a cold understanding creeping into his mind. You're saying humans are the makers? That we used to be something else? Not just something else, So Young continued, her voice getting more excited despite their dangerous situation. Something incredibly advanced. The genetic templates show that humans once had abilities we can't even imagine. Enhanced intelligence, longer lifespans, and something the crystals call quantum consciousness, the ability to interface directly with technology. Taemin's scanner suddenly started beeping frantically. We have ships dropping out of hyperspace nearby. 3 of them, council configuration. Captain Wan was already running for the bridge. All hands prepare for emergency. Jump, engineering, I need everything you can give me. The Horizon's Edge lurched as the engines came online. Through the viewports, they could see the sleek forms of council enforcement vessels moving to surround them. These ships were painted in the black and silver of the Special Operations Command. Incoming transmission, Wan called out. They're demanding we surrender the archaeological team and all collected materials. Don't answer, Hyunwoo ordered. Jump now. The ship twisted into hyperspace just as energy beams lanced through the space where they had been moments before. But Hyunwoo knew this was far from over. The council had resources they couldn't match, and now they knew what the team had found. 3 days later, they were hiding in the asteroid belt around the dead system, trying to repair their overworked engines. Eunji had made disturbing progress with the translations. The Council of Watchers isn't just some ancient enemy, she explained to the exhausted team. They're still here. They're the current Galactic Council, the same organization that humanity joined 300 years ago. That's impossible, Captain Wan protested. The Galactic Council has existed for thousands of years. They helped humanity develop faster than light travel. They welcomed us into galactic civilization. Did they? So Young asked. Or did they guide our development to make sure we never became what we used to be? Taemin had been analyzing the quantum signatures they had recorded on Kepler 442b. I've been checking these readings against our star charts. There are similar signatures throughout human space. Dozens of them, all on worlds where humans have established colonies. What kind of signatures? Hyun-woo asked. The same type we found in the crystal storage chamber. It's like there are ancient facilities on all these worlds, just waiting for something to activate them. The ship's communication system suddenly crackled to life. It was an encrypted transmission from somewhere in human space. Dr. Park, if you're receiving this, you're in great danger. My name is Bill Ram Shin. I used to work for the Council on something called Project Genesis. I've been tracking your discoveries, and I think I can help you. But first, you need to get to safe coordinates. The transmission included jump coordinates for a system not on any official star chart. After a quick debate, the team decided they had no choice but to trust this mysterious contact. The journey took them through 3 different star systems, each jump carefully planned to avoid Council patrol routes. Finally, they arrived at a system with a single habitable planet covered in thick clouds. This is Refuge, Burrum's voice came through the cum as they entered orbit. It's been hidden from Council sensors for 40 years. You'll find a landing beacon on the night side of the planet. The planet's surface was beautiful in an untamed way. Thick forests covered most of the continents, broken by crystal-clear rivers and lakes. It looked like Earth might have before humans developed industry. Or Ram met them at the small spaceport. She was an older woman with sharp eyes and graying hair. Behind her stood several other humans, all watching the new arrivals with curiosity and concern. Welcome to Refuge, Ram said. Population, about 2,000 humans who all learned the same terrible truth you've just discovered. She led them through a settlement that looked more like a research facility than a town. Every building contained laboratories, libraries, or workshops where people were studying ancient artifacts and documents. 40 years ago, I was a senior xenogeneticist for the Council, Ram explained as they walked. My job was to study human genetic anomalies. Humans who showed unusual abilities or intelligence levels that didn't match normal human parameters. What did you find? Yoon-ji asked. That these anomalies weren't random mutations. They were genetic memories trying to resurface. Fragments of our original genetic code that the modification process couldn't completely erase. They entered a large building filled with crystal formations similar to the ones they had found on Kepler 442b, but these crystals were glowing brighter, and some of them showed active holographic displays. Every few generations, a human is born with enough original genetic material to access these ancient data stores, Ram continued. The Council has been hunting these individuals for thousands of years, either recruiting them into secret projects or making them disappear. Taemin approached one of the active crystals. As he got closer, the display shifted to show star charts and technical specifications. It's responding to me, he said in amazement. Because you carry the genetic markers, Ram explained. Oh, you do. That's why you were able to access the Kepler 442b site, and that's why the Council is so desperate to stop you. So Young had been examining the genetic data displayed by the crystals. These templates show what we used to be capable. Enhanced healing, extended lifespans, direct mental interface with technology. We were like living computers. And that terrifies the Council, Ram said grimly. Because if humanity ever fully remembers what it once was, we won't need them anymore. We'll be their masters, just like we were millions of years ago. Outside, alarms began to sound. A young man ran into the building, his face pale with fear. Council ships, he announced breathlessly. 3 squadrons. They found us. Through the building's windows, they could see lights moving across the cloudy sky. The hunt had followed them even here. Ram's expression hardened. It's time you learned why we really built this place, and why the Council fears us so much. She pressed her hand against the largest crystal formation. Immediately, every crystal in the building blazed with brilliant light, and deep underground, ancient machinery began to hum with power. Welcome to your real education about humanity, Ram said as energy weapons began charging in hidden installations across the planet, above them. The Council ships had no idea what they were about to face. The ground beneath their feet vibrated as massive weapon platforms rose from hidden positions throughout the forest. Hyun-woo watched in amazement as trees that had looked perfectly natural split apart to reveal gleaming metal structures underneath. The entire planet had been disguised. What is this place? He asked Bilram as energy shields flickered to life around the settlement. This is what humans can build when we remember who we are, she replied, her hand still pressed against the glowing crystal. Refuge isn't just a hiding place. It's a fortress built with recovered architect technology. Above them, the council ships opened fire. Bright beams of energy struck the planetary shields and scattered harmlessly into space. The weapon platforms responded with their own barrage, and Hyunwoo was shocked to see the advanced council vessels rocking under the impact. How is that possible? Taemin asked, staring at his scanner readings. Those council ships have the best shields in the galaxy. Not better than architect shields, Bilram said with grim satisfaction. The technology you found on Kepler 442b? We've been studying it for decades, learning to use it. Some of us can even interface with it directly. She gestured to a woman standing near another crystal formation. The woman's eyes were closed, but her hands moved through the air as if she was operating invisible controls. On the displays around them, Hyunwoo could see she was directing the planetary defenses with thought alone. Her name is Yun, Bilram explained. She was born with more active architect genes than most. She can connect her mind to these systems like they were part of her own body. The battle in space was already turning. 2 of the council ships were retreating, their hulls damaged by weapons they couldn't understand. The 3rd ship tried to land troops on the planet's surface, but the forest itself seemed to fight back. Hidden defense systems emerged from the ground to destroy the landing craft before they could reach their targets. We need to talk, said a calm voice behind them. Yun had finished directing the battle and was walking toward their group. She was younger than Hyunwoo had expected, maybe 30 years old, with the confident bearing of someone used to command. You've stirred up quite a storm, Yun continued, looking at the archaeological team. Council ships have been searching every system in human space. They're more frightened than we've ever seen them. Why? Eunji asked. What's so important about what we found? Yun led them to a quiet room filled with comfortable chairs and soft lighting. Once they were seated, she began to speak in a voice that carried the weight of terrible knowledge. 40 years ago, Bilram discovered something in her genetic research that changed everything. She found proof that humans aren't just descendants of the architects. We are the architects. The most powerful species the galaxy has ever known, deliberately modified to forget our own nature. So Young leaned forward, her scientific curiosity overcoming her fear. But why would anyone do that to themselves? Because we were becoming monsters, Bilram answered sadly. The crystal records Yun has access show the final years of the architect civilization. We had technology that could reshape matter. At the quantum level, we could create life, destroy stars, even manipulate time itself, but all that power was corrupting us. The architects made a choice, Yun continued. Rather than destroy the galaxy in their wars, they would sacrifice their own abilities. They created the genetic modifications that would make their descendants, us, into a simpler, more peaceful species. Hyunwoo felt pieces of a vast puzzle clicking into place. And the council races? The species that supposedly helped humanity develop space travel? They were our servants, Doug quietly. Species we had uplifted and guided. When the architects chose to become human, these servant races were supposed to watch over us until we were ready to remember our heritage, but over millions of years, the servants became the masters. They grew to like ruling the galaxy. Taemin was studying the quantum readings on his scanner. The signatures I've been detecting throughout human space, those are dormant architect facilities, aren't they? Thousands of them, Bilram confirmed. Hidden on every world where humans have established colonies. They're starting to activate, because humans are beginning to remember. Our genetic modifications are breaking down. Breaking down how? So Young asked. Yun stood and walked to a wall display showing human genetic charts. Every generation, more humans are born with active architect genes. People like Taemin, who can interface with quantum technology. People like you, Dr. Park, who are drawn to ancient mysteries. The modifications are failing because they were designed to fail, eventually. The architects wanted their descendants to reclaim their heritage, Bilram explained. But only when humanity had learned wisdom. Along with power, the question is, are we ready? Outside, the last council ship was fleeing the system. But Hyunwoo knew this victory was only temporary. What happens now? The council won't just give up. They're already implementing emergency protocols, Yun said grimly. We have contacts throughout human space. Council forces are moving to surround every human colony. They call it Operation Tabula Rasa. What does that mean? Eunji asked. Complete erasure, Orum replied. They plan to destroy all human worlds before the awakening can complete. They'd rather commit genocide than lose control of the galaxy. The room fell silent as the full horror of the situation sank in. Millions of innocent humans were about to die because of knowledge that should have stayed buried. There is another option, Dayin said slowly. The main architect facility still exists. It's hidden in the galactic core, built around an artificial ringworld. If we can reach it before the Council destroys it, we might be able to complete the awakening safely. Complete. It how? Haiyan Wu asked. By giving humanity a choice, Dayun explained. The facility contains the original genetic templates and the technology to restore our full architect abilities. But it also has safeguards. Humans who choose to awaken will become something beyond current understanding. Those who choose to remain as they are will keep their current limitations, but also their essential humanity. Taemin looked up from his scanner. I'm detecting massive energy buildups throughout human space. The Council isn't waiting. They're beginning their attacks. Now, Do Yun's expression hardened. Then we're out of time for debate. Bioram, prepare the ships. We're going to the core. How many vessels do we have? Haiyan Wu asked. 12 ships with volunteer crews, Do Yun replied. All built with recovered architect technology. It will have to be enough. As they prepared to leave refuge, So Young pulled Haiyan Wu aside. Doctor, I've been monitoring my own genetic activity since we found those crystals. The changes are accelerating. I can feel abilities trying to emerge that I don't understand. Haiyan Wu nodded. Grimly, he had felt the same changes in himself. Are you frightened? Terrified, So Young admitted. But also excited. What if we're about to become something wonderful? Through the windows of their ship, they watched Refuge's defenses power down as the planet prepared to evacuate its population. In the distance, the first reports were coming in of Council attacks on human colonies. The galaxy is about to learn what happens when you try to cage the children of the architects, Yun said as their small fleet prepared to jump toward the galactic core. Haiyan Wu looked at his team, Yunji working frantically to decode more crystal data, Taemin monitoring quantum fields that were growing stronger by the hour, and So Young analyzing genetic changes that were happening in real time. They were no longer just archaeologists studying the past. They were humans racing toward a destiny that would either save their species or transform them into something unrecognizable. The jump to hyperspace felt different this time, smoother, as if the ship itself was remembering how to move through space more efficiently. Humanity's true awakening had begun. The journey to the galactic core took 3 days through hyperspace, but they were not traveling alone. Reports flooded in from across human space, and each one was more incredible than the last. Ancient structures were rising from the ground on dozens of worlds. Technology that had been buried for millions of years was coming online. New Seoul is reporting massive underground facilities emerging near their capital city, Eunji announced as she monitored the communications channels. The colonists say the structures respond to human touch but ignore other species completely. Henwo watched the reports scroll across their screens. Each human world seemed to be experiencing the same phenomenon. Dormant architect technology was awakening, drawn by the presence of humans whose genetic modifications were breaking down. It's happening faster than we expected, Dayin said from the pilot's chair. She had been interfacing directly with their ship's navigation systems, guiding them through hyperspace routes that shouldn't exist. The discovery on Kepler 442b triggered something. A signal that activated dormant genetic sequences across the entire human population. Taemin looked up from his quantum analysis station, his face pale. The energy readings I'm detecting ... They're off any scale we know. Some of these facilities are drawing power directly from their local stars. A priority transmission interrupted their conversation. The face that appeared on their main screen belonged to Jinho Nam, a colony administrator they had never met. Behind him, massive crystalline spires stretched into the sky. This is New Seoul Colony, Jinho said, his voice shaking with excitement and fear. We need help understanding what's happening here. 3 days ago, our world was normal. Now we have cities rising from beneath the ground, and our people are changing. Changing how? So Young asked, leaning toward the communication screen. Some of us can speak directly to the machines now. My daughter touched one of the crystal formations and suddenly knew how to operate technology that doesn't exist in any textbook. And the physical changes? Jinho held up his hand. His skin seemed to shimmer with an inner light. We're becoming something else. Dayun's expression grew grim. How many people are affected? About 30% of our population. So far, but the number grows every day. And there's something else. Jinho's image flickered as energy discharges lit up the sky behind him. Council ships arrived in our system 6 hours ago. They're not trying to communicate. They're just attacking anything that moves. The transmission cut to static as explosions flashed across the screen. Hyun-woo felt sick. The council was already implementing their genocide plan. We're receiving similar reports from 18 other human colonies, Yunji said quietly. The council is systematically attacking every world where architect technology has activated. Then we're too late, Taemin said. Even if we reach the core facility, billions of humans will die before we can do anything to help them. Not necessarily, Diyun replied. She gestured to her navigation display, which showed their current position relative to the galactic core. The main facility isn't just a storage site. According to the records I've accessed, it's a command center. If we can activate it, we might be able to coordinate all the awakening facilities across human space. So Young had been monitoring her own genetic changes throughout the journey. The modifications in my DNA are accelerating. I can feel new neural pathways forming in my brain. It's like I'm remembering skills I never learned. Hyun-woo knew what she meant. He had been experiencing similar changes. Complex mathematical concepts that should have been impossible to understand were becoming clear. When he looked at the ship's technology, he could intuitively grasp how it worked, even though it was based on principles beyond current human science. We're dropping out of hyperspace, Yoon announced. Prepare for the most incredible sight any human has seen in millions of years. The view that greeted them was beyond imagination. The architect ringworld stretched across space like a golden band encircling a massive star. The structure was so vast that entire planets could have fit inside its inner circumference. Energy patterns danced along its surface, creating aurora displays that painted space in brilliant colors. Sensor readings indicate the ringworld is approximately 50,000 kilometers in diameter, Taemin reported, his voice filled with awe. The construction materials are unlike anything in our databases. They seem to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. And it's inhabited, Yunji added, studying the communication frequencies coming from the structure. I'm detecting what might be an artificial intelligence? The signal patterns are incredibly complex. Yun guided their small fleet toward a docking area that opened to receive them as they approached. The ringworld systems recognized their genetic signatures and welcomed them. Home like long-lost children, the docking bay was filled with ships of designs that seemed to blend art and technology into something beautiful beyond description. As they walked through corridors that adjusted their lighting and temperature to human preferences, Hyun-woo felt like he was stepping into a dream. Welcome, children of the architects, said a voice that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. I am the keeper of memory. I have waited 4,732,000 years for your return. The corridor opened into a vast chamber where a holographic figure materialized before them. It looked human but moved with a grace that suggested vast intelligence and power. You are the artificial intelligence that manages this facility? Daeyeon asked. I am the final gift of the architects to their descendants, the keeper replied. Created to preserve their knowledge and guide humanity's eventual return to greatness. But I bring difficult news. The Council's genocide has begun in earnest. 23 human worlds have already been sterilized. Hyun-woo felt anger building inside him. Can we stop them? The ringworld contains defense systems that could protect every human world simultaneously, the keeper explained. But activating them requires a choice that cannot be undone. To use architect technology at its full potential, humanity must accept the complete genetic restoration. You will become what your ancestors once were, but you will no longer be entirely human as you understand the term. So, Young stepped forward. What exactly would we become? The keeper gestured, and the chamber filled with holographic displays, showing the true extent of architect abilities. Humans who could manipulate matter at the molecular level. Beings who could live for thousands of years while maintaining perfect health. Individuals who could interface with technology through thought alone and travel between dimensions. You would become the guardians of the galaxy once again, the keeper said, but the transformation is irreversible. And not all humans can survive the genetic restoration. Approximately 40% of your species lacks sufficient original genetic material to complete the change. And the other 60%, Hyun-woo asked, would transcend current limitations to become something unprecedented in galactic history. Architects who have retained their humanity's capacity for growth and change. Alarms began sounding throughout the facility. Taemin checked his scanner and paled. Massive fleet approaching. Council ships, hundreds of them. Through the chamber's transparent walls, they could see the lights of approaching vessels. The Entire council military seemed to be converging on their position. "They know we're here," Dayan said grimly. "And they're not coming to talk." The keeper's expression remained calm. "The choice must be made now, children of the architects. Accept your heritage and fight for your species, or remain as you are and watch humanity die." Hyeon-woo looked at his team. Yoonji was already changing, her eyes glowing with inner light as dormant genetic sequences activated. Taemin's hands moved through control interfaces that responded to his thoughts. So-Young's scanner showed her DNA rewriting itself in real time. The council fleet was almost within weapons range. "We choose to remember," Hyeon-woo said firmly. The keeper smiled. "Then let the galaxy learn what it means to awaken the children of the architects." Energy patterns erupted across the ringworld's surface as systems that had slept for millions of years came online. And in the depths of space, the largest fleet ever assembled prepared to face an enemy they had tried to forget. The real war was about to begin. The transformation began immediately. Hyeon-woo felt his DNA rewriting itself, millions of years of suppressed genetic information flooding back into his cells. Knowledge that had been locked away since humanity's earliest days filled his mind. Like water rushing into a dried riverbed around him, his team was changing too. Yoonji's eyes now glowed with soft blue light as she connected directly to the ringworld's vast database. Taemin's hands moved through holographic controls that responded to his thoughts, managing energy flows that could power entire star systems. So-Young watched in fascination as her scanner showed her cellular structure rebuilding itself according to ancient templates. "The process will take several hours to complete," the keeper explained as transformation energy rippled through their bodies. "But your awakening abilities are already sufficient to defend this facility." Through the transparent walls of the command chamber, they could see the council fleet approaching. Thousands of ships in perfect formation, their weapons charging for what they clearly intended to be the final battle of a war that had lasted millions of years. "How many ships?" Dayan asked, her voice now carrying harmonics that hadn't been there before. "Approximately 15,000 vessels," the keeper replied calmly. "The largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. They have brought everything they possess." Hyeon-woo touched one of the control interfaces and immediately understood the ringworld's defensive capabilities. The structure wasn't just a repository of knowledge. It was a weapon system designed to protect the galaxy from any threat, including threats to the architects themselves. These defenses, "They're incredible," he said, his consciousness expanding to encompass sensor networks that spanned entire star systems. "But if we use them at full power, we'll destroy the council fleets completely. Millions will die." "The council chose this path when they decided to commit genocide," Yoon replied, but her expression showed she shared his reluctance. "They're already killing innocent humans on dozens of worlds." The first council ships entered weapons range and opened fire. Beams of energy that could shatter planets struck the ringworld's shields and vanished harmlessly into dimensional space. The ancient defensive systems absorbed the attacks as easily as a person might catch raindrops. "Their weapons can't hurt us," Taemin observed, watching the sensor displays. "But we need to stop them before they destroy more human colonies." Yoonji suddenly looked up from her connection to the database, her expression filled with wonder and horror. "I found the complete historical records. The truth about what really happened." She activated the main display, showing images from millions of years in the past. Ancient Earth, but not as they knew it. This Earth was a paradise world covered in cities that seemed to grow like living things, populated by beings who looked human but moved with impossible grace. "The architects didn't just rule the galaxy," Yoonji explained as the images shifted to show vast fleets traveling between stars. "They created it. Every habitable world, every species capable of intelligence. All of it was designed and guided by our ancestors." "We were gardeners," So-Young whispered, her enhanced perception allowing her to understand the biological data streaming across the displays. "The architects seeded the galaxy with life and nurtured it toward consciousness. But power corrupted them," the keeper continued the story. "In their final centuries, the architects began to see themselves as gods rather than guardians. They started wars that could have destroyed all life in the galaxy. That's when they made their greatest sacrifice." The display showed the final council of the architects, beings of incredible beauty and power gathered around this very ringworld. Their decision was unanimous. They would give up their godlike abilities to save the galaxy from their own destructive nature. They didn't just modify their own genetics, Hyeon-woo realized as understanding flooded through his transforming mind. They created the council races to be their successors. Species designed to maintain peace while humanity slowly remembered its true nature. But the council races were supposed to return power to humanity once we had learned wisdom, Yoon added grimly. Instead, they chose to remain the rulers. Outside, the council fleet was regrouping for another attack. But now, strange energy readings were appearing throughout the galaxy as dormant architect facilities on every human world began responding to the Ringworld's activation. The awakening is spreading, Timon reported, his consciousness now linked to sensor networks across human space. Humans everywhere are beginning to transform. The genetic modifications are breaking down completely. And the council forces attacking human worlds? Haiyan-Wu asked. They're retreating, Timon said with amazement. The awakening humans are defending themselves with technology the council can't comprehend. The command chamber's display showed scenes from across the galaxy. On New Sol, Jinho Nam was directing energy patterns that turned council warships into harmless light shows. On other worlds, humans were manipulating matter at the quantum level, turning weapons into flowers and transforming barren ground into gardens. They're not fighting with violence, So Young observed. They're using transformation and conversion instead of destruction. The Keeper nodded approvingly. This is why the architects chose to sacrifice their power. Their descendants have retained the capacity for growth and change that the original architects had lost. You are becoming something better than what came. The Four, a new voice spoke from the communication system. It was Commander Jeho Kang, the human officer who had been hunting them since the Kepler 442b, but now his voice carried the same harmonic undertones that marked the awakening. Dr. Park, this is Commander Kang. I'm aboard the Council flagship. But something has changed. The truth you discovered, it's spreading through the human members of the Council forces. We remember who we really are now. On the display, they could see chaos spreading through the Council fleet as human crews began awakening to their true nature. Ships that had come to destroy humanity were now protecting human worlds as their crews discovered their real heritage. The transformation isn't just genetic, Yunji realized. It's consciousness itself changing. Humans everywhere are remembering not just their abilities, but their purpose as guardians of life. Haiyan-Wu felt the final stages of his transformation completing. His awareness now spanned multiple dimensions and he could sense every living thing within light years of their position. But rather than feeling godlike, he felt a deep responsibility to protect and nurture the life the architects had planted throughout the galaxy. The Council races, he said, turning to the Keeper. What happens to them now? That choice belongs to humanity, the Keeper replied. You could punish them for their rebellion, or you could forgive them and invite them to join a new galactic order based on cooperation rather than domination. Dayun stood and walked to the Ringworld's central control matrix. As she placed her hands on the interface, her consciousness merged with systems that could reshape reality itself. But instead of using that power for conquest, she began broadcasting a message to every species in the galaxy. People of all worlds, her voice reached across space in hundreds of languages. Humanity has awakened to its true nature, but we have not forgotten the lessons our ancestors learned. We offer partnership, not domination, growth, not stagnation. A galaxy where every species can reach its full potential under the guidance of gardeners who have learned wisdom. The Council fleet stopped firing. Across human space, the attacks ceased as awakened humans offered transformation instead of retaliation to their former enemies. Months later, Han-Wu stood in the same crystal chamber on Kepler 442b where their journey had begun. But now the chamber was alive with activity as humans and aliens worked together to decode the ancient knowledge stored there. The galaxy is changing faster than anyone expected, Yunji said, joining him at the observation window. Her eyes still glowed with inner light, but her smile was completely human. Dozens of species have asked for help developing their full potential, and the ones who choose to remain as they are? Haiyan-Wu asked. We protect them too, she replied. That's what guardians do. So Young appeared with a datapad showing the latest transformation statistics. About 60% of humans have chosen to complete the awakening. The rest prefer to remain in their current form. Both groups are working together better than we hoped. Taemin called out from across the chamber where he was helping a young alien researcher understand quantum mechanics. Dr. Park, we've made another discovery. There are older ruins on this world. Structures that predate even the architects. Haiyan-Wu smiled. Even with all their recovered knowledge and abilities, the universe still held mysteries waiting to be explored. But now humanity would face those mysteries as what they had always been meant to be, not conquerors, but gardeners helping life flourish throughout the infinite garden of space. The galaxy had found its shepherds again. And this time they remembered the wisdom that came with power.